Let's talk about slow quitting a marriage and what that really means. Whether you're married currently and you think that you might be doing it, or you want to reflect back and see if you did that, or I'd love to hear your definitions of it because I just have mine. I would say for me, so I was married for 10 years. The relationship was 13 years. I would say I never considered divorce. Like, it just was not an option for me. Oh, honestly, until I'm processing this in real time. This is fun. There was a moment about 7 years into the marriage. We had really young kids. I think one was 7 or 8 months old, our second one. And he had actually mentioned divorce the first time. And now that I kind of like reflect back on it, I think that's when my trust was completely broken, because now all of a sudden it was on the table for him. I don't think that I had ever really entertained the idea of it, even though the relationship hadn't been good in a very long time. But now all of a sudden, he said he wanted one, and after like a really bad conflict and fight that we had, and then like an hour later he took it back and he was all emotional and like it went away. But I think I'm gonna have to unpack this now because I'm processing this in real time. I think that's when my trust was irretrievably broken. I think that's the right word, because now all of a sudden that was a possibility that he would consider it. So we stayed together another 3 or 4 years after that. But if I go back and pinpoint when trust was broken, I mean, there was a lot of trust that was broken up to that point, but it was never at the thread of the relationship, I don't think, until then. And so for me, it was 3 or 4 years of like little moments that start to pass your mind, like, I don't know that I see a future, or how are we ever going to get back on the same page? Or maybe it would be easier if we weren't together. And he was going through a lot of mental health stuff. I was in therapy. He didn't want to go to therapy. And then finally we went to couples therapy. And that's when the couples therapist actually recognized some stuff that he needed to work on. And so he started going to therapy with there, and we stopped couples therapy. And that was one of the first times we separated. So we had separated a couple of different times over the years. The last couple of years, trying to figure out how to partner together. Divorce was never something that I was entertaining during that time. I thought we were just trying to give some space and like, I don't know, try and figure it out. But when divorce was kind of finally on my mind, it was kind of right at the start of the pandemic. And I think a lot of us went through that during the pandemic, because all of a sudden you're in the house with your partner constantly, and problems and stress are intensified, and you kind of go, my life is being threatened just by the world experience of the pandemic. How do I want to live out the rest of my life? Is this the partnership, this the marriage that I want? And for me, the marriage had been harder, way longer than it had ever been any good. And I had to really piece apart what I defined as marriage. That was part of my accepting of divorce, was, what does divorce really mean? What does marriage really mean? What did I sign up for? What did I think this was going to be? Not what society was projecting onto me as, this is marriage, this is divorce. I was afraid of divorce from the label of divorce, not because my life experience was so amazing and so great. I was afraid of divorce because I was afraid of what other people would think. Family, friends, my own belief in what a marriage was. And so there was a long grieving process in trying to work through that. But the reality for me came when, no matter how much I would try to work on myself, try to work on the marriage, I decided that marriage was partnership, and that I didn't have that, and I hadn't had that in a really long time. And I also had this moment where we had been going to couples therapy, and we had both asked each other for like the basics of one thing to start to work on from each of us that would help restore the marriage. And within a week, neither one of us were willing to do that. And that's when I recognized that we weren't willing to do the one thing that we both needed to make the marriage work, because that would have meant risking and losing ourselves. And we weren't willing to lose ourselves to heal a marriage that was very broken. So I think that's when I stopped seeing hope that we were heading in a similar future. And again, this is just my story. It doesn't apply to everybody. I can look back now in hindsight after having been divorced for 3 years of like other things maybe we could have tried. But in that moment, I had no self-awareness. I really wasn't self-aware at all. I didn't know myself. I had lost myself in that marriage. He was struggling. We were both drowning. And so I don't know that with the tools that I had at that time that anything could have been salvageable. Now, do I think every relationship is salvageable? Yes, when both people are willing to heal, to dig in, to turn towards connection and get help and support and own their shit. However, most of the world is not willing to do that, right? And I think that people choose incompatible partners from the jump because of companionship or their own perceived timeline, that we're starting off with broken relationships before they ever become broken from the marriage. So slow quitting a marriage to me is basically, it's not like one specific event, like he cheated and the marriage is done, right? That wasn't my case. It was kind of like death by 1,000 toothpick stabs, right? And it was a series of choices and a series of experiences and a series of hurts and disappointments and, also, I mean, like I enabled him. I didn't advocate for myself. I didn't speak up. I allowed myself to be treated the way that I was. So I am equally complicit in the decline of the marriage as he was. But I wasn't aware of a lot of that stuff that was going on, and my own mental health was struggling a lot too. So it was hard to kind of have the hindsight perspective of the bigger picture. So slow quitting a marriage to me, I believe, is little moments where you start to think maybe life will be better, or maybe somebody else would be better for them or better for you, and looking at what life might be like without that person. And yeah, sure, maybe it's the perception that the grass is greener on the other side. But for me, we kind of reached a turning point where I did not want to continue to expose my family and my children to the marriage we had. That was not the marriage I wanted my kids to have. And we had spent years and years and years in a cycle that just wasn't getting any better. In fact, it was getting worse. And so I was unwilling to allow our family to see how bad it could get, because it was already pretty freaking bad. And in hindsight, I don't regret it whatsoever. I wouldn't change a damn thing, because I have loved the journey I've gone on, as painful as it's been, because I'm a better person for the pain that I experienced and what I've learned along the way, and the woman I've evolved into because of it. So that's kind of my 2 cents on slow quitting a marriage.